everybody. My name is Angela. I'm from AgFunder, an agri-food tech-focused venture capital firm headquartered in the US. I'm from Singapore. I'm really happy to be here to speak with our esteemed speakers today. Now, so looking at the topic, and as a VC, recently what we like to do most is to look at ChatGPT. So what does it tell us about the headlines? Mekong's harvest. So we're not just talking about agri-crops, but we're also talking about the region's economic potential, human capital, as well as innovation. The next part, cultivating world-class supply chains. So how do we build or upgrade the region's supply chains and to be globally competitive in terms of efficiency, quality, transparency, as well as resilience? Now, through ESG. Now, this is actually the how, and not just a good to have, right? It's a must have. So with this, I hope we have a conversation about how ESG principles actually are not just compliance tools, but also key enablers for the region to build globally respected supply chains. And I hope that by the end of a half an hour, we will have a very good idea of that from our speakers. So we will explore how our two business leaders, Mrs. Omi Deng, chairwoman of Betrimex, a large conglomerate delivering and elevating sustainable coconut products globally. If you had the dessert this morning, if you drink coconut water every day, then most likely it might come from one of their factories and their farmers, as well as Ryan Galloway, the Chief Growth Officer, as well as CFO of TechCoop, a fast-growing agri-fintech scale-up now, redefining farmer empowerment in the Mekong Delta. So our two leaders, they are building supply chains that are not only globally competitive, but also sustainable and future-proof. Now, before I get our speakers to introduce themselves, just a very quick 30-second about what I do. I'm one of the investment leads at AgFunder. Like I said earlier, we're headquartered in the US. I'm based in Singapore. And we invest in pre-seed to Series A companies, helping to solve some of the limiting factors for climate health as well as human health. Now, over to Mrs. Omi first. Ladies first. Yeah. Could you tell us about, your growth journey at Betrimex? Yeah.
Well, I think as people listen about Betrimex a little bit news, but with Agri-S and TTC group backgrounds, which was the one of the market leader for the agriculture in Vietnam, which is a very strong and growth for the tech and transformations, and has been in the market established for 55 years. But besides, though, they know us like very finance and investment banking backgrounds from us. And Betrimex is the one of the company we has been get back from the government about 11 years ago. And from 11 years, we grows, I think it probably over 50 times when we've been take it over, and from a very traditional of desiccated manufacturing, and from now they already been in the over a couple of $100 million. Yeah.
Amazing. Ryan, what would you like to tell us about yourself as well as TechCoop?
So Ryan Galloway, been in Vietnam this year is year 15. Good God, that's a long time. TechCoop is an agri trader. I mean, we help to do aggregation and smooth out payment terms for agri SMEs and for cooperatives. Last year we did about 75 million. This year we'll do about 155. Everyone always likes to talk about the round that we closed, which was $28 million in equity, and then another 42 in debt. Really what we're here to do is help the government to be able to meet its goal to double export output. To be able to get to export, you have to be able to have good output first. You have to have good raw materials and good ingredients. And so really what our job is to do is to find maybe the next 1,000 exporters and kind of companies that are maybe between 5 to 20 million top line that might be first generation family that they've been running the business for a while and they want to start to do something different. or maybe the second generation family coming in and wanting to expand their reach a bit. And so what we do is we just become a strategic trading partner for them. So that way, if they're using 20 to 30% kind of deposits for working capital, we'll come in and we'll double that and then share profit with them on the back end. So probably the thing that I'm most proud of that I've done here in Vietnam is my son. He's 6 years old and absolutely gorgeous. So and as much of a handful as you can imagine he would be, kind of looking at me and knowing who I am. So thank you.
Amazing. All right, now let's get down to it. Mrs. Omi, Betrimex has transformed from a commodity exporter to a very innovative world-class coconut solutions powerhouse. So can you share some of the key milestones in Betrimex's supply chain journey and how ESG actually became central to your strategy? I may add that Betrimex publishes a very detailed ESG report, sustainability reports every year. I mean, if you have time, just go through it, and I think it's definitely very world-class with qualified metrics. Yeah.
As I'm sharing, that we are getting back from the very early stage of coconut industry and the commodity base. And from there, I think it's one of the very strong decision making is we go through our pain points, buy the commodity and convert the process into the zero waste product. And based on the latte for local authentic traceability and very ethical of this province, especially in Mekong Delta. And we work with the farmers in the early stage and see the suffering of all the farmer, how are they get into the very clean product and very, the zero waste product. One coconut, you can get out about 250 product. And this is going to be the full industry by FMCG, pharmaceutical, and also cosmetic as well. So we see how hard that the farmer has been working and to improve the understanding about the product and also understanding about the industry, food industry processing growth as well. BTM already been into this process and bringing ESG is our philosophy and mentality of working on rather than like claiming product or claiming processing. And we already been into the process of we working with the manufacturing the whole wide world and from the farming we got fair trade certificates, we got so many different types of certificates to bring in organic size. And we own about 15,000 hectares and go ahead with 25,000 hectare organic certificates and can be in global markets, which is like from China, you have to get 5 years certificate before you can bring an organic product. Or Western or in US, many more at the moment. BTM already exposed about, I think it's globally to 80 countries already for the OBM process. And from the manufacturing, we reach up to the world-class manufacturing for zero discharge. Not only solar and also the examinates for the energy, very strong auditing, and even the water. So many things has been from the very strong and disciplined focusing on the farming side, from the manufacturing side, and of course we space in the commercial side, which is we've been on over around the world. BTM already reached out to the state of can be co-packing and co-manufacturing globally from Europe side and US side as well. We not only the manufacturing in Asian locations, we has been very strong connected working and be the one of the top examining for the manufacturing and building the digital manufacturing in Vietnam. So that is where we are.
And the most important thing, your coconuts are delicious.
Oh, thank you.
I kid you not. I had an Indonesian agri-tech startup in my office yesterday, and I put a coconut down in front of him.
Uh-huh.
And so he had it, and he's like, I said, how is it? And he's like, it's good. I'm like, you're right. It's better than Indonesia. You don't need to say it. It's fine. I'll say it for you. It's okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Ryan. I guess to follow up from Mrs. Omi's point, she mentioned about their region of influence, the number of farmers that you have, the countries that are exporting to. Maybe could I hear TechCoop's influence, spheres of influence, and how big that is actually?
So a lot of what TechCoop does is it's helping agri SMEs and cooperatives to get to be export ready. And so when you think about ESG for us, we talk a lot about like certifications, Global Gap, Viet Gap, Rainforest Alliance, kind of all the different certifications. And what our job is to do is to help them to be able to pass these by kind of going in, and we'll do a soft audit first and kind of give them what we think our initial assessment is. The major reason why we want to do this is that this is our reputation, right? If we're going to, when we're engaging in active trading, if we introduce a buyer to them from offshore, they have to be able to do on time, in conformance, all of the time. And so it's kind of one of the ways that we do a social proof check first, is that we come and say, and we have a team actually that we brought in from Coca-Cola, some of our old team from Hao and I from Na Foods Group, they go on site and they spend 2-3 days out at the factory. And then we issue kind of our analysis report. Only after that, and we start to see them start to have some traction, that we'll start to bring our buyers there to be able to start to take a look at things. A lot of the discussions that we talk about, what's a bit different for us, and we talk a lot about kind of carrot and stick versus like do this because you want to do it. At least in our business, people are doing this because they want to make more money. So like financial interest, sometimes I think ESG is opposed because it creates additional costs. In this one specific in this one specific point, it's more investment that eventually has a return. It's just a matter how long it's going to take and how much it's going to cost.
Well, a little bit touch about the tax activity. So when we are working on the farming, we got the farmer relationship management applications where we are strongly communicating with them so we can be predicting the assumption what have been happening and how the widening zone with the agro activity. So we transform from agronomic information impact into the very strong farmer association communications, which is we be able to also sharing with them how is to be the agro management and improve more the management skill sets with the farmer and easily to influence into the new processing. So I'm really understanding what you've been saying. ESG is not the heavy investment. This is start a new century of investment for the declarations, for transparency, and of course they're going to come up with very huge the data for the farmer and very beneficiary for the whole process and whole value chain and whole on stakeholder. So if we look at this, the governance is strongly to transformation the whole industry and bring into the new business platform, which is people can be consolidate data, same page data, sharing the benefits of data, and influence data so we can be able to make a new century of proactively agri-business and into the agri-economics implement.
I think to follow up on the points that both of you raised, so far it sounds it's been very integrated into your entire workflow. I think one of the key export markets is the U.S. and with this new administration, I feel that certainly introduced quite a bit of, I guess, uncertainty into the market. So how do you see that influencing your business processes for the last 6 months, maybe? Yep.
So we've been quite fortunate, at least at TechCoop, we didn't have direct trading exposure. I had the day that my board saw 46%, I felt fire sirens going off on my phone, like, oh my God, what are we going to do? I'm like, wait. Dolam is working on it. He'll take care of it. And so far that's been proven out right. But I think what's going to be happening, and like I'm an American, I think likely what's going to end up happening here is that the world will strengthen around the United States. Because at the end of the day, Betrimex has to ship coconuts. I've got cashew, coconut, coffee, cassava. farmers have lives that they depend on us to be able to ship. So if we can't sell to the U.S., we have to find another place to be able to move. And I think that's going to be the real takeaway from this. And I was talking to my friend Rich, who's in the back there. He's bald like me, so I can see I can catch the glare off his head when he raises his head. He brought this up where everyone else is going to start to diversify from the U.S. And I think that Betrimex is a good example. They're already very well diversified, and we were just lucky that we hadn't decided to pay big bets in the United States yet, and our customer base really hadn't been impacted because they hadn't placed big bets. I'm really interested to hear Betrimex's point on this.
Well, food industry is still something that people scared to touch, right?
True, very true.
And I think a strong point is we look at the market's 300 million populations and high demanding and daily uses, and very strong of the PR and marketing influence global media. But in the other hand is the awareness of the people for health after COVID, and natural product has been already influence global. So what are we talking about? The global supply chains already been changes before tariff and Trump happened. And definitely a 300 million population with a very used to market needs to make the people from our industry have to think about the new era explored. And we can confidently to share that so we have not much impact at all. And natural product and natural space, and also domestic market or Asian market or Europe market and China markets is there. And we from Betrimex side, we are confident can think about a new zone of 400 million population and consolidate and synergy between Indonesia and Vietnam market. And look at the Southeast Asia markets where we are already been on over. So for the impact, we are just have to reconsider for our partner in US. They more suffering than us. And in the end of the day, I think for a couple of months, I think that on the government have to be started out, because most important when food security has been talking and impactly for 2028 started. And from now it's 25 already for the past next 3 years. If they want to change in their appetite for relocation or even changing the sourcing or the supplier for US market, that is have to be very big consider, not only for the government, but impact for the business. So from us, we're fine, and we're happy with the on new customer and more servicing has been improved from us.
Great. So we look forward to even more interesting and delicious coconut products from Betrimex. Ryan, I'm curious to learn about some of the data metrics that TechCoop tracks amongst its farmers and also amongst the thousands of smallholder farmers that you work with. How do you actually promote sustainable farming? I mean, apart from the carrot that's put before them.
So I think a lot that we have to do is in our business we have kind of 3 different pillars that we say that we support SMEs and cooperatives with. We support them in being their CFO by giving them kind of trade finance and even helping them to be able to do investments in education and things like that, because we're a beneficiary of developmental financial institution money, so we get grant money, so we can provide that to key partners for them to be able to skill up. We also help them to be able to get ready from a marketing perspective, helping to be able to do, I mean, it could be everything as basic to helping to negotiate out the first contracts, doing education on Incoterms and kind of changes in legislation that are coming up because of trade and things like that. I think the things, when we look at it from a business perspective, we actually look at business very carefully on a gender and family lens. As a part of our kind of decision-making on what's the trade balance that we look at, we use network effects very, very heavily, kind of who's the person who introduced us. And then once we actually get to know our trading partner, where were they educated? What did their kids do? Are their kids into the business? These are all things that we found. How much of the business is managed by females versus males? Spoiler alert: if it's managed by females, guys, like it's a better bet. And so I think that we also have other metrics that our investors, kind of FMO, Blue Orchard, put on about carbon and things like that, which I think is harder to track. But for us, I think what's most important is, what is the business doing today? What does it want to do for its own workers and its supply chain? What's their vision for them? How are they going to help not only their own employees, but the people that they're sourcing from? How are they going to pull them up as well? How is that success going to be shared down the supply chain? Because if you have, this happens a lot in other countries where, and I think this is something that Vietnam actually does quite well, that we're good at sharing success. Because I think it's something that maybe in the U.S. we're a bit more transactional. We're like, maybe it sounds a little bit like the president, like, I did this. It's very, very good. But I feel like here we recognize that some of these trading relationships have been family relationships that have gone back decades or generations. And really honoring that and making sure that when one part of the supply chain has success, that goes both upstream and downstream.
I really like the approach that, you're not just looking at the current farmers, but also being really, interested in the impact that you're delivering to future generations. Mrs. Omi, you have a very comprehensive sustainability, I would say, policy in your company. I guess a couple of questions from me really is, if you have to single out one point, which is the part of ESG that's the most important for you? That's one. And two, I think what's unique about Vietnam in my travels in the region is the sheer number of female leaders in this market is just much higher than a lot of developing markets. So I think really kudos to Vietnam for that. So, apart from my first question, the second question is, what are your thoughts on, female leadership and empowering women in this region? Yeah.
Okay, so we can back is Bến Tre is the one of the region we call Đồng Khởi. It's also very high. It has been is from the long times ago from Vietnam War. The place is already very strong of the women empowering, and I think it's good from Asian. Women style is quite strong on multifunction and very high responsibility. So I think that's what made you think that the Western men it love the way of the Asian woman perform, right?
That's what my wife tells me all the time.
So, I think it's the very easy method that we can sharing. Asian women or Vietnam women has been very strong and been into the whole history decades to bring in Vietnam into the state of peace and more sharings. And Vietnam leadership, I'm also into the Women Leadership Association in Vietnam. They're asking us, what am I thinking about the Vietnam empowering? I think that's a good way. It's like balancing of the gender for business. It's bringing more powerful of product and servicing deliver. It's more balancing of the way of business doing and more transparency for equally of sharing product. So we're not saying that the woman can be only beauty and sex. They can also be in sexy minds as well, right? And I believe that's what is the. If you look at the most of the company in Vietnam, especially in milk industry, is around 80% of the market leader is set up by lady. And from the more Western pot size, natural agriculture product is also how the woman leadership can build the beauty of food, nutrition, family safety, and health influence. And I think that's a good point to sharing that the women leadership can be more grow and stronger in Asian and Vietnam markets to bring in a new approach and more equal gender for the business activity, social activity, and also bring into the environment more balanced things. Yep.
I want to ask one if I can,
Yes.
between the two of us. I love you, but I want to ask this question while we got
Go
the
ahead.
chance. Attracting more people into the field from education. One of the things that we've done at TechCoop, which is completely founder funded, like we're not doing this out of the company yet. We want the company to take it over eventually. Is we have something that we call the TechCoop 100, where we're actually partially subsidizing scholarships for people that want to. It can be either certifications or for more advanced degrees, specifically in food and food science. And so what I'm curious, and I know that you guys do stuff, but what are some of the initiatives that you have to be able to bring to attract the smart minds and keep them with us and having them go off or do Web3 or other sectors?
Well, I think it's the very special identification of women. When they know what they want, they will go for it. Very consistently, very strategic as well, and very commitment. And that is bringing women is quite strong inside the house, in the society.
This one I'm well aware of.
Do you acknowledge this?
Because they are basing for the past, the present, and the future. I think that's what is the really women pay attention on. They know what is the past and respect what's going on in the history of the whole. I mean, how is where they are and how they get it. But from now to the future, I think it's women's already very strong, focusing and very consistently on what is bringing the best value for themselves, for the family, and for society. But for the next, I think it's more balancing the gender in the social and business world to bring in more past product and more talenting of ideally to bring the economic space more stronger. Especially in the very volatility at the moment and changing into transition in the whole global and the whole economic impact. Women is one of the things can be more, stronger for the emotionally, professionally, and that is helping to the people can be consistently go over the recession or any the circumstances. I believe that is the most strong point to bring the women leadership is now it has to be get the attention from the business activity and the social agreement.
Great. In the few minutes just before lunch, everybody's stomachs are growling now. Okay, I guess just 1 minute each from each of you. Maybe we start with Ryan. I guess to tell the audience today, what is the most important key takeaway for the audience? Any thoughts? One actionable insight or piece of advice, that you have about this topic. Yeah.
Patience and persistence. Be on the ground. Make sure that your feet's touching grass. I think that in the push to make everything efficient for AI and things like that, especially when you're talking about food, we forget a lot about the human connections that make these businesses work when the algorithm goes in the opposite direction that we know that it should. And so I think that making sure that we understand, taking the time to understand one another first, being able to give first before you look to be able to receive, because I think you have to remember that in our supply chain, we work with folks that haven't always gotten the fairest shake out of life. I think that they work goddamn hard. They really, really do. And I think that if we can show the respect that they deserve because they've put in the time, that's probably the best place to be able to start kind of out of all these conversations.
For me, I think it's like, what can I recommend? ESG not there to reconsider. ESG is something has been happening around you. Please take the action. That is quite straightforward, but it's important. What G stand for, you know what to do. And ENS will following with your high awareness. And I also want to, one of the reminding you, at the moment from BTM, we already activated one of the agro the agro model, our business model is the agro business platform, where all the stakeholder can be sharing the benefit from it. And we also standing for the solutions, mark, and sustainability. So we have been a market for 50 years already. For the next 50 years, we also confident to show the solution of agriculture stay and based on Vietnam. So for my recommendation is when you do something, stay focused and consistent. And what the ESG is there. So don't dare to step in at ESG and think about what level ESG that's from your company and yourself can be contribute to society and your business environment and your family. So please don't just think ESG is something far away from you. ESG is there inside of you and in your business environment and your society.
Thank you so much. So I guess really to conclude this, the Mekong region really isn't just about harvesting crops. It's really about uplifting lives, cultivating bold, world-class ideas through ESG, and from coconut farms and to our farmers, digital platforms. It's clear that sustainability, the implementation of ESG, and profitable growth must go hand in hand. And with that, I would like to thank Mrs. Omi and Ryan for their time today, and also like to hand the time over to Van to introduce you to lunch. Thank you.